DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Hope you're all well. It's Monday, and Monday is often the tag day. So I've just finished doing Jasmine's 5 question tag, and I'll go to Dave Nicholson's last Saturday 7 question tag, and let's see how it goes. I wonder if I'll be able to answer those. Sometimes, they're kind of complicated, but we'll see. Question 1. If there had been a rule to add a mandatory amount of alcohol in a profession, which profession would be the perfect fit? Let me see if I understand that question really. A mandatory amount of alcohol in a profession. Well, you know what? I'm a scientist. I was trained as a chemist, and I can tell you, working with scientists, we tend to be big drinkers. I think it's the many hours of lab work. You very often would end up in a bar after. It's the stress of getting your papers or your results out on time. If you work in research like I did, it might also be the fact that just simply you have to. I was almost going to say you have to work with failures. What do I mean by that? Is that more often than not, things don't work the way you want. In research, that's just basically it. You're looking for something, and before you find it, you're going to find a lot of things you don't want to find, or things like that. So yeah, maybe that's it. I would say which profession it would be the perfect fit. A research scientist, yeah. And I've worked in chemistry, I've worked in biology, I've worked in microbiology, I worked in neurology. You know what? We're all the same. It was one of those professions, yeah. Okay, question 2. Suppose a zombie apocalypse broke out in your city. How would you prepare yourself for combat? I thought actually that every city was a zombie apocalypse. Albeit I have seen pictures of San Francisco before the Chinese prime minister or president or whatever he's called over there came to visit, before they cleaned it up, to make it look like it was nice and clean. And seeing people walking around, or certain parts of Los Angeles. Actually, California is getting pretty bad for that. And it looks like a zombie apocalypse. But what was the question? How would you prepare yourself for combat? I don't know if I could. If there's something I've never been able to do very well, I think I had one fight in my life. I won it though. But no, I've been kicked. I've been, treated badly. But in actually combat, how would I prepare myself? I'd pray. I'd pray. Actually, seriously, I'd pray. I don't think I'd be any good for anything that would be called combat. Yeah. So let's go on to question 3. What is this one? What is the one conspiracy theory that sounds more interesting than the reality? That politicians are honest. I mean, you just have to look at most things in politics, actually, and you will see that. I don't even know if it's a conspiracy theory, but I was going to say that wokes are caring and everything. No, just look at what's going on in the world, and the high nose and the teaching and giving lessons and so on, and condescending and so on. Yeah, the conspiracy there that is much better than the reality. The reality is the exact contrary. Okay, I know some of you won't agree with me, but anyway. That's question 3. And question 4. Can you tell the last experience that you had? Can you tell the last experience that you had for the first time in life? That's a strange way of putting the question, but an An experience. What would be an experience in this case, and for the first time? I was on a subway once, and and we were actually. Well, attack might be not quite the right word, but menaced at least, with somebody with a pointy object, and it was a guy who was on drugs and he was going through a bad trip, and we managed to get out of the. That was in Montreal, and we managed to get out of the subway just as the door closed on him. Yeah. Another experience in that way was I was in Atlanta once, and which I thought was a taxi, but was actually probably a kind of a private chauffeur type thing. I'd taken it from the airport, and once we got to the hotel, which was I think it was called the Peachtree Hotel. It's round. If you're in Atlanta, it's the one that looks like a round cylinder. And the driver said, well, okay, I can't remember the number, but it was like, imagine it was $30 or something. I'm just making a number up here. Imagine it was $30, and he says, well, that'll be $100, please. And I said, well, that's kind of a hefty tip. And he said, you work for a big company, don't you? He says, you'll be able to put it on the expenses. And added to that, then he said to me, and you know where your suitcase is? It's in the trunk. You might want it, and so on and so on. So I mean, it was being menaced. Yeah, that was one of those experiences at the time. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Question 5. What is the craziest thing that you've ever done? I have problems answering that. I'm not one person that does all that many crazy things. I have been hiking a few times in the high mountains where brought the family to a place that was totally out of our comfort zone, and we didn't have actually probably the right shoes and so on, and mountain goats would have probably found it challenging, and then you have small kids. That was probably a crazy thing, and yeah, maybe we'll leave it at that. I think things like that, not always probably thinking close enough, actually, especially when you have small kids, and thinking, well, you can do this with them, and they're too young for something like that. Okay, we'll leave it at that. I'm struggling with these questions here. Let me see. Question 6. If you could summon a ghost of any person ever, whom would you choose? Well, actually, in that respect, first off, I'll say that I believe in spirits, but I don't believe in the ghosts of persons in that respect, in the same way that this is mentioned here. But if I was going to say, who would I choose? Yeah, I'd probably like to chat with, I'd probably like to chat with my dad. Yeah. Okay, now let me see. Question 7. What is the one thing about you that even you wouldn't believe if the same was told for someone else? Well, let me see. I'm really, really struggling with that one. This was the kid on the village that whose dad could barely read, and ended up CSO of a company. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't make sense, does it? That you wouldn't believe it was somebody else. Yeah, actually, I was going to say, from the village where I was, I don't know if anybody ended up really from my class. From my class, which was such a problematic class in grade school and in the village, there was a lot of problems, kids there. Um, I think I'm the only one that got to, get out of that class. It probably got to go further a bit, and I don't know. I don't actually know how to answer that question. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to stop here because anyway, I'm over 10 minutes. So anyway, that'll be DC signing off. Thanks, Dave. Challenging questions. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.